Hey everyone, before we start, I'll give a quick intro into what's happening here if this is your first time. My name's Jason, and I've been hosting these app layer builder roundtables, and it's just been really fun to give the apps that build on Ethereum and bring all the amazing use cases to life a chance to talk publicly to the community and share what they're building, what they're working on, what's coming, how they're positioning themselves in the market. And you never know who's going to be a guest host. And this week we have none other than Nico, also from the EF here, to guest host with me. And he'll give a little introduction soon, but also maybe somebody in the crowd might be brought up if there's people that want to come up and talk from just around the Ethereum community, whether it's core devs or anyone the like. And the point of this is just to really give a chance to the app layer to shine. And we have two amazing teams to talk about what they're building with EtherFi and Vaults.fyi. So we'll get started in just a couple minutes soon. And before we do get started and I kick it off with Mike and the EtherFi team, Nico, do you want to give a quick introduction so the EtherFi team can have all of their 30 minutes and we don't waste any time with intros?
Yeah, sure. Thanks for having me. So I'm Nico from the EF, and I do coordination with protocol support and a little bit with the layer 2s and the interop initiatives. And I'm also a good friend with a lot of DeFi people, including EtherFi that we have today. So yeah, this is my quick intro. I hope you can hear me correctly. I'm live from Ethereum Denver right now. So bear with me if there is some background noise.
Yeah, I can hear you great, no problem. Thanks for the intro, Nico. Happy to have you here. And without further ado, let's kick it off to Mike and EtherFi. I want to briefly just start with explaining what EtherFi is in case anybody listening, it's their first time ever hearing about your project.
Yeah, for sure. Well, thanks for having me. It's really cool to see the EF doing these. I think it's a great way to highlight really cool projects, and looking to more of these. So EtherFi. I'll talk about what a little bit about our journey. We started off with our staking product, EtherFi Stake, which is a liquid staking and restaking product. The basic idea is you deposit ETH. That ETH is then staked and delegated to node operators on your behalf, and you receive a receipt token that you can use in DeFi. And that staked ETH is also restaked in EigenLayer to provide security for other crypto economic networks, with the benefit being to you as the user is that you get a really nice kind of risk managed token that gives you higher rewards than just native staking, with a small amount of additional risk associated with restaking. We've been pretty successful, I'd say. We launched just about a year ago, actually, and we have now about 7 billion in TVL, and still continuing to grow in ETH deposits, over 2.5 million ETH staked through EtherFi. Our long-term vision, though, goes beyond just our first stake product. What we're actually building towards is a crypto native banking alternative. You can think of it as analogous to a crypto native neobank. So if you use something like Revolut or Nubank or Chime or any of these neobanking type products, we're looking to build the equivalent of that, but in a crypto native context. So you'll have one nice, easy to use integrated app that lets you do everything that you would do from with a traditional bank. So specifically, that includes the ability to save your money or your crypto, whether that's staking ETH or BTC or US dollars, deploying that ETH or deploying those assets into DeFi with our EtherFi Liquid product, which are DeFi strategy vaults that have about 2 billion in deposits in them now. And now with our EtherFi Cash product, which is a wallet, an account abstraction, smart contract wallet, and a credit card that lets you directly spend and borrow against your crypto, as well as do things like IBAN transfers in and out, SWIFT transfers, again, all the great things that you'd expect from a traditional bank, but in a non-custodial context. And we hope to be able to use this lower cost, higher reward offer to onboard hopefully many millions of users into crypto, and have them do things that are not just sort of gambling on token prices. In other words, actually onboard crypto users for real utility and value creation, rather than just sort of participating in the giant, decentralized casino. Hopefully that makes sense. Happy to chat more about it, answer any questions.
Yeah, that makes complete sense. And I do have a quick question. You said you've been mildly successful, and I think that's being a bit humble. I think you guys have been very successful. According to the dashboard that Hildabby has made that shows all of the ETH stake through which organizations, EtherFi has over 5% of all ETH stake. And what do you think has driven the adoption compared to other liquid staking or just normal staking solutions?
Yeah, I think, there's a couple of things. There was a period of a lot of excitement and kind of mania around restaking, and we were the beneficiaries of that because I think we can credibly say we built the best product in that category as far as the liquid restaking boom. So that was one part of it. But in addition, I think the fact that we do have a broader vision than just building another liquid staking protocol, it got people pretty excited, and so we built a community of people that are excited to take that journey with us.
Amazing. And when it comes to Ethereum staking, though, there's obviously the concern of centralization. So how does EtherFi approach decentralization with regards to the stake in the current staking landscape?
Yeah, so we do a bunch of things that I think are unique and particularly good when it comes to decentralization. So obviously we do sort of the basics, which is delegate to a broad range of node operators. I think we have 20 or 25 node operators that we work with and we delegate to. But in addition, we have our Operation Solo Staker, which we are looking to scale out quite a bit, which is where we actually subsidize and support solo stakers running nodes with the use of DVT, distributed validator technology, on the network. And so we brought I think a couple hundred of those online now. And then the other thing, and this was particularly relevant before Pectra, where we actually set it up such that the keys, specifically the validator keys, are held by the stakers or specifically bondholders, rather than just solely being in the hands of the node operator. So it prevents a particular attack vector where a node operator would potentially be able to hold the ETH hostage if you're you're familiar with the ins and outs of how staking works. Now with Pectra, that attack vector pretty much goes away. So we're I think, but we focused on that as one of our differentiators as well.
Amazing, thanks. And you briefly mentioned kind of the bigger picture vision for EtherFi. Now, kind of, you guys are venturing into the more broader DeFi suite and offering like more traditional yield products. Would you mind expanding on that even more, and maybe then even further, what's the ultimate vision for EtherFi?
Yeah, so as I was saying, we have 3 products. We have EtherFi Stake, EtherFi Liquid, and EtherFi Cash. So Stake is a staking product that includes ETH, BTC, and USD. So you can stake any one of those assets. With BTC, we stake through Babylon. And with USD, we restake USD into Eigenlayer. So that's like the staking product, which is, as they said, analogous to sort of a savings account. With the liquid product, that is a suite of DeFi strategy vaults. I think we've got around 10 vaults at this point. And these are different strategy vaults that, in a non-custodial way, implement different types of DeFi deployments. So, for example, we had 2 vaults that were very popular that were basically deployed into the DeFi ecosystem on Berachain. So it let you, farm the Berachain ecosystem. That got up to, I think, around 700 million in TVL fairly quickly. We just did one with Movement, which I think got up to around 80 million last I checked. And then we have our ETH Liquid strategy vault, which is 450 million in TVL, which is just the best ETH risk-adjusted ETH yields across the ecosystem. So basically, if you're tired of micromanaging your DeFi, of having to move from one farm to another, and just spend your life basically adjusting your DeFi positions and monitoring them, our liquid DeFi strategy vaults are a good way to just automate that. We're by far the largest DeFi strategy, yield aggregator vault product in DeFi. And then the third product is EtherFi Cash, which is a non-custodial smart contract wallet and a credit card attached, which lets you. It's the first DeFi-enabled credit card in the sense that you can either spend your stables, including yield-bearing stables, 1-to-1 directly, no bullshit fees, no top-up fees, no spending fees. In fact, you get 3% cash back on everything that you buy through our Scroll partnership. And in addition to that, you can also borrow against your DeFi positions. So if you have a position in Aave or in one of our liquid vaults, you're actually able to borrow against those positions, which is great because if you're borrowing at, let's say, 5 or 6% rate, but you've got DeFi yields that are generating 10 or 20%, I mean, that's basically a self-repaying credit card now, which is pretty awesome. And if you pull all those things together, including the integration that we're soon rolling out with, as I said, IBANs and SWIFT, you now basically have a full alternative to traditional banking with much lower fees, better rewards, and it's self-custodial. In other words, your money, your wealth can't just be confiscated, for whatever reason. So we're pretty excited about that. It's the first integrated offer of its kind. The UI is awesome. You don't have to deal with any sort of crypto nonsense, as I would call it, which is like seed phrases and signing transactions. There's built-in social recovery, and it's just a nice experience. It's much closer to what you're used to with a traditional financial institution. So so I'm pretty pumped about it. I think there's a lot that we can do to bring a lot of non-crypto degens into the space.
Yeah, that's extremely exciting. Congratulations on that. I have a question. Now, that all sounds like rainbows and sunshines, but I'm sure building this kind of crypto native credit card product is extremely difficult, and you've run into challenges, I'm sure. I'd love to hear about those.
Yeah, so this is the problem with crypto, right? There's so much easy money to be had by just launching some dumbass clone of something, launch a token, pump it, cash out, that it really crowds out a lot of real product development, in particular at the consumer app layer, because just it's too easy to do the fake stuff. Because doing real stuff, like especially like what we're doing, which intersects with TradFi's, it's a ton of work, and it's not fun work. It's not the type of work where you're solving customer problems, exclusively. It's like just bullshit work that's kind of the grind. Like getting endless licenses in various jurisdictions and figuring out how to wire different partners and tools together to just make the thing actually work and create a good customer experience. It's a grind. It's a ton of work. Like we have to, if you know anything about the licensing regimes, we have to get a bunch of different VASPs, virtual asset service providers. We have to get EMI license, and we have to work towards getting a Visa for MasterCard principal issuance license, and all these types of things. And every country is its own thing. You can't just magically issue cards globally. Some crypto projects are doing it, just breaking the law. But we're like, no, we want to be around in 5 years, so we have to do it properly. So it's a grind. It's a lot of work. I mean, and what we're doing is probably 1/10 of what you need to do if you were starting like a full end-to-end TradFi institution. Because then, if we were actually custodying user assets, I mean, we'd need banking licenses, and I mean, it would be like a 5-year process just to get going. So, what we've created, because you have like all the tools on the back end to replicate, as I said, a banking functionality on the, entirely on chain, built on Ethereum. But even that thin layer of interface with TradFi requires a ton of this sort of drudgery that is just a must-have. You got to do it, otherwise it's just not going to work. So so it's very painful. It's going to take really years. I mean, right now we're working through a lot of partners to get access to many of these licenses, but to get fully licensed ourselves and like do all this sort of wiring, it's really a multi-year process. The long-term goal, of course, is like once we do have all these systems built out, and we've onboarded hundreds of millions of users and the thing's working, eventually we can actually start cutting the ties to TradFi. Because if 99% of everything is happening on chain and you have enough of a user base, you actually can then sort of cut the cord and say, look, we're going to have our own payment network. We're not going to go through Visa. We're going to have our own transfers and payments infrastructure. So that's coming. But to do that is, you have to kind of bootstrap it in this way.
Yeah, that makes complete sense. Sorry, Nico.
Yeah. So for you, the end game is probably cash, then your wallet products. This could be the replacement for the banking system, right?
Yeah, well, you need all of it. You need the whole thing. You need an end-to-end sort of drop-in replacement where a user doesn't feel like they're sacrificing anything operating on crypto, in crypto native rails. Because as soon as, there's that sacrifice where, I can't do this, I can't pay my mortgage, I can't get paid, my payroll can't go into my account. Or as soon as you have those sacrifices and you still need a bank, well, then you haven't really created a replacement. So if I can't do my investing, right? Like you need basically everything before it becomes a true, drop-in replacement.
Yeah, for sure. Could you give us a little bit of information on 7702? I think Cash is gonna maybe implement 7702 in the following weeks. What's your plan up there?
No, do you mean is 7702 the forced validator exits on the execution layer, or am I mistaken?
No, it's the conversion from EOAs to smart accounts, and I was wondering if you're planning to use that one.
I mean, yeah, probably. I mean, we've built it so far without relying on that, because obviously, we needed to get the product out. So we've built a bunch of workarounds that are obviously more expensive and convoluted. But yeah, for sure, that's something that we will integrate once Spectre is out.
Since you touched on it, would you mind mentioning if you guys are ready / how are you using the triggerable exit CIP and what it is?
Yeah, so I'll try not to get too far into the weeds. When you stake your ETH, if you put in 32 ETH into the Beacon Chain deposit contract, you generate two keys. You generate the BLS key, and then you get a derivative key that is the validator key, which is meant to be the sort of the hot key that is on your server. And you need both of those. And you've got your exit credentials, and so you need both of those, both the exit credentials and the hot key, the validator key, in order to get your ETH back, because you need to trigger the exit on the Beacon Chain using the validator key, and then you're able to withdraw, I guess, get the ETH out of your wallet. So that, that's fine. There's lots of very good reasons for why the system was designed that way. But the challenge of it is that if you delegate your ETH staking to a node operator and only they have the validator key, there's not an easy way for you to ensure that you can get your ETH back. You basically need to get them to, generate an exit signature, an exit message, and then keep regenerating it periodically so that you have it and you can then pull your ETH back. And it's complicated. So, but now with Petra, you won't need to do that. You actually be able to trigger the exit on the execution layer, and that solves for that issue. So now you don't need this kind of complicated workaround, which I think is good. This is a big win for stakers and decentralization, I would say. It eliminates some of the risk of delegating ETH to big centralized node operators.
To stay talking about the protocol, if you had a magic wand and you could change anything about the Ethereum protocol, is there anything that you would change?
That's a good question. I mean, I don't know that I have anything profound to say other than I think it is a worthy goal to try and scale the L1 in addition to, making blobs cheaper and continuing on that roadmap so that we've got a robust layer 2 ecosystem. So that would be my top priority, is just, focusing on improving the throughput of Ethereum layer 1.
Going back to cash, I'm curious about the 3% cashback. You said, I believe you're working with Scroll. Would you mind saying where that yield comes from?
Yeah, so we, for a number of different reasons, we liked the Scroll team and the Scroll layer 2 in particular, that it's a ZK layer 2. And, it's a team that moves quickly, ships. They've got, I think a really good tech stack. So we partnered with them, and as part of that partnership, they're providing that 3% cash back to EtherFi Cash users. We're excited to be working with them. I think it makes it a super compelling partnership that really, it benefits both sides because it brings a ton of transactions and TVL onto Scroll, and it makes the product compelling.
Shifting a bit to the yield products that you were talking about, how exactly do you think about a sustainable yield generation, and kind of what mechanisms do you use to ensure the long-term viability of the yield?
Well, I mean, in the end, there's only so much we can do, right? Because it has to ultimately be fed by the yields in DeFi. And right now, directly or indirectly, that yield is fed by speculation, basically by gambling, whether it's on centralized exchanges or decentralized exchanges. It all sort of flows from the great casino inferno in the sky into DeFi. It's now being supplemented by treasury bill yields, with the various RWA product, the tokenized treasuries. So that creates a bit of a floor. So it'll be very unlikely that yields in DeFi will fall below the treasury US dollar yields, at least will fall below the treasury yields of the US government. But long term, my hope is that yield starts getting driven by by actual economic activity, which is like the way yield is generated in the broader economy, right? In the real world economy, is people borrow money, they borrow it at a certain interest rate, and then they use that money to do something that generates a greater return, right? Like you borrow money at 5%, you take a bunch of sheet metal, you turn it into widgets, you sell those widgets for more than you bought the sheet metal for, and then you produce a 10% or 20% return. That's what productive activity is, right? That's economic activity. You take something of lesser value, turn it into greater value, and that creates a return on investment that then feeds the broader economy. That concept is like kind of alien in crypto. Instead, it's this sort of self-referential sort of feedback loop. That's fine if you just want to remain a giant casino forever. But like at some point, if we want this thing to actually matter in the real world, we got to plug in real economic activity. And so we want to see people start borrowing money in order to do productive things in the broader world, but settled and financed on the blockchain. And that's what's going to lead to actual yield generation long term that is sustainable, right? But that's going to take time. So I mean, there's a lot more I can say there, but yeah, that's going to take time.
I'd love to hear more. I mean, I think this is a aspiring vision for the community as a whole. Like, how can we really turn that vision into a reality?
Yeah, I mean, in the end, people have to build real businesses. I think, again, there's different directions I could take with this, but like one of the things that like Solana and Pump Fund and those other types of ecosystems have done actually is they've really they've sort of sucked the air at a lot of the gambling activity by just funneling it into other places, like I guess the Hyperliquid chain and Solana. That's bad in the short run because token number go down, but it's actually good in the long run because it leads to it sort of creates a forcing function that requires real companies to create value and actually do stuff that that makes sense and generates more exogenous cash flows, let's say. So I think the fact that the casino is cooling off and we're starting to see the money printer not getting turned back on as some people expected, I think is actually healthy and will lead to hopefully in the same way that like the bear market after DeFi summer actually, or even after the ICO, boom, led to a lot of like some of the most interesting protocols getting built. That's in the same way. Hopefully, we have kind of a reprieve from the gambling inferno, so that we can actually focus on building real products, and then the next wave of growth will actually come from that productive economic activity.
That was great, and I hope anyone listening that's thinking about building an Ethereum product was listening and can follow your advice there. Now, specifically for EtherFi, you have these positive sum products. How can you make sure they get into the hands of as many people as possible? What go-to-market strategies are you thinking?
So there's a couple of things that I'm excited about. One is we are building a part of our cash product is a corporate card offering. So in other words, it'll be a set of products within EtherFi Cash that actually lets businesses issue cards to their employees, manage expenses, automatically do reporting that otherwise would need to do manual, all the fiat on-ramp, off-ramp. So crypto native businesses that have their treasuries on chain will be able to just use those treasuries in their day-to-day activities. So that's our corporate card product that's actually going to be launching in a couple of weeks. And we have some high-profile companies lined up that are going to be using it. So I think that's really exciting because that, again, in the spirit of doing things that are productive, like it's plugging into businesses which generate revenues, and that's the way we acquire those customers is very kind of almost old school, B2B SaaS. Like we have people like sales reps, BD people that are going out there talking to businesses and trying to convince them that this is a good product and, getting them to come on board. And then when we really start rolling out the Cash product and the EtherFi sort of full suite more broadly to retail, which should happen around the same time frame. Right now, we're in private beta with that, but once we start rolling out broadly, it'll start resembling what non-crypto businesses do. And within a year or two, I really hope that like the cryptoness of it is almost like not the feature. Like, it's not relevant. Like, what matters is that it's just, hey, here's a product that gives you a higher rate of return on your wealth, that gives you more control over it, that costs less. Like, that's the selling feature, not the fact that it's happens to be in crypto. And so we hope to start onboarding normal people through all the usual channels that you'd go through, whether that's event marketing, partnerships, advertising, word of mouth, all the usual ways that businesses onboard customers.
What's on the roadmap that you haven't talked about yet?
That I've talked about a lot. I guess I kind of spilled the beans on the corporate card and the IBAN and Swift integration. Like, those are things that we haven't talked about externally a ton, but I think are pretty exciting. Maybe this is more degen and crypto native. We do have some exciting stuff that we have lined up for season 5 of our rewards. We've done, obviously, as part of our token launch, we did a whole set of seasons with various partnerships and rewards. So we do have a pretty exciting, some pretty exciting things lined up for our season 5 for folks that have been following. So that's something that I haven't mentioned yet.
For the record, I didn't think that anything you previously said wasn't exciting, and I'm not looking forward to. I just wasn't sure if there was anything else that you wanted.
Yeah, no worries. Oh, good.
Yeah. So, is there anything last that you want to talk about that we haven't covered yet?
No, I mean, maybe what I'd love to hear from you guys, if you haven't, already talked about it a bunch, is just what are you guys planning as far as engagement with the app ecosystem? Anything else that as app developers we have to look forward to?
Well, we're definitely going to keep doing this. This is the 4th public call, and we're going to keep doing them. The community has been very receptive, and I've enjoyed it, and everybody I've talked to, from the builder side to the core dev side to the broader community, has really enjoyed getting the community together and talking. Also, if you're an app builder and you want to kind of reach out and get a more personal private call with me and anybody else at the Ethereum Foundation, please reach out to my personal Twitter. That's at jchaskin22, and I'd be happy to set up a call with you. And we're really looking to further the connection between the EF, the app layer, core devs, members of the community. There's been a bit of a disconnect there, and I'm personally going to do, and other people at the EF are going to do everything that we can to kind of bring the community together and keep us focused on building a positive sum future for the rest of the world in Ethereum.
Great. Well, thanks for having me. Very glad to be a part of this.
And thank you for joining. I learned so much, and you guys are a huge part of the DeFi and broader Ethereum ecosystem, and it was an honor to have you on the call here.
Yep. Thank you for your contribution, man.
Thanks, guys.
Hey, so now we have Tyler and the Vaults team here, and I'm really excited to hear about what you guys have been building. So would you start by giving a brief intro of yourself and your product?
Yep, absolutely. Thanks for having us here. I'm Tyler, one of the co-founders from the Vaults.FYI team. And in short, our goal is to make on-chain earning and navigating the DeFi yield space easy for users. We want to help people find the right products for them and make it easy to manage their funds on-chain. So shout out to Mike and the EtherFi team for just shipping a lot of great products for the space, making crypto native rails more accessible for the world. And we're seeing that there are more and more products across DeFi shipping great vaults, ranging from simple lending and staking products for stable coins, for ETH, for many other assets, to super complex farming vaults as well. And with vaults.fyi, we aim to give users a one-stop shop for on-chain yield, where you can discover yields, compare them, find what's right for you, and easily make deposits and track all of your positions in one place. We do that by indexing and standardizing data that we get directly on chain, making that transparent, easy to sort through for users, which I can speak more to kind of how we landed that from our own personal experience. And we've done that covering 40 plus protocols across DeFi, covering more than 500 vaults now that we can show data for. And that's on Ethereum mainnet and across the L2s. So I'll pause there and excited to chat and hear what questions you have for us.
Yeah, thanks for that brief intro. Would you mind going into a bit more detail on kind of what's the big picture problem you're solving and what makes your approach to yield and position management unique?
Yep, 100%. So it's really just there's a ton to find in DeFi, and keeping track with all of it is really hard to do, and we saw the need for simpler tools to sort through all the noise there. Just to give a simple example, even if, say you are interested in DeFi, maybe you're newer to the space and you hear about Aave and you have DAI in your wallet, and you go to say like, cool, I want to lend some DAI on Aave and start earning yields. But maybe you're okay with checking out opportunities on L2s, not just on mainnet. Already that's going to be Aave's deployed across like 10 chains now. Just to find kind of like where you want to put your DAI between mainnet, Optimism, Arbitrum, Base, etc., or your USDS. That's like quite a bit of information to parse through. We found that kind of putting that into one like simple list that users can search, filter, easily interact with is really valuable. And like I said, we started this as a side project for ourselves, where we were looking at building our own yield strategies, and we were collecting data from different protocols and just finding that like when we wanted to back test our own strategies, it was really difficult to get all that data and to standardize it. So again, if you go to different protocol UIs throughout the space, they might show an interest rate that's like as of the last block, just like this interest rate that's been there for 10 seconds, and it's going to be super volatile and swing throughout the day. We think that what's more helpful for users is to show them something like a trailing 7-day average APY, or give them the ability to see that over like a 30-day span or a 1-day span. And that's, we think that that's going to lead you to like better decisions about where you put your money. We started building that for ourselves. We kind of opened it up for other people to use our data, and got a lot of love over the past year, and have just been building more and more, enabling people to actually move funds through our interface. And did I answer the question there?
Yeah, that does answer the question, but I do have a follow-up. Yield obviously does not come risk-free. How do you guys approach risk management and the transparency around the risk?
Yeah, 100%. This is a tough question, and one that we're actively sorting through. We recently put out a piece kind of with our own thoughts about it, with my thoughts. One of like the common requests we have from users is for some kind of risk scoring. I actually think risk scoring is incredibly difficult to do, because risk can come from so many places in DeFi. It can come from the underlying smart contracts. It can come from governance. It can come from just economic attacks, or from many different places. So like my personal view is probably the best way to get like a good idea of the risk of an underlying vault is just like, how lindy is the thing? Has it held billions of dollars consistently for a number of years? Matching that up with like, what's the underlying token? Is it DAI, or Tether, USDC, something that's been battle tested, kind of withstood the test of time? Or is it like a new stablecoin that launched yesterday that maybe has endogenous collateral, like that's inherently going to be a lot riskier? Same thing with ETH or ETH derivatives. We've built out something that we call a reputation score that leverages everything I just talked about. It pulls in outside metrics from L2 beat, like if you're lending on an L2 versus Ethereum, we show whether that's a stage 1 or stage 0 or stage 2 L2. And each of those things, kind of factor into how risky is the place that you're putting your money. So ultimately, look for us in the next weeks and months to kind of give users easier tools to sort by like what are the higher reputation vaults, the things that are more lendy. And ultimately what we want to do is kind of as people come into DeFi and look at vaults, we can get a sense of like what do they care about, what are their preferences, and give them the things that kind of match what they're looking for.
How would you say that what you're building compares to aggregators like Yearn that people might be familiar with?
Yep. So Yearn is great products. We've you can come to vaults.fyi and find Yearn vaults through our interface. Our key difference is that we aren't managing smart contracts. We're not deploying smart contracts that take end user funds. We are just serving up information from these protocols, and if you're depositing into them, we'll prep the transaction payloads and call data through our app and through our API. But we're not actually like holding user funds and moving them between protocols.
That makes sense. And what would you say the ultimate vision for Vault is? Do you guys see yourself as like a DeFi super app for yield, or more like a niche tool for power users?
Yeah, so definitely the former.
Something.
Yeah, definitely the former is what we're most excited about. And the other thing that I haven't really mentioned so far is that, everything that if you're going to vaults.fyi, if you're looking at our app today, everything that's there is built on top of our API. So we are kind of dogfooding our API and showing like how great of an experience you can create for DeFi yields. But ultimately, we want to help other teams craft those great experiences into things that they're building too. So we're trying to get our API in the hands of more wallets and different products that want to have like a DeFi or an earning section of what they're building. And so in the next couple weeks here, we're looking forward to launching our first wallet integration. And when I say that, what I mean is like, if you go into many wallets today, and especially like to drive home the point, do it on your phone, and you try to like lend on Aave. Oftentimes you're going to get kicked into an in-app browser that then you have to go through. You have to connect your wallet. You have to sort through their UI to like find the deposit button. Where what we can help wallets do is really craft like a really nice native experience where it's just you present the user with a simple list of opportunities, or make those choices easy for them, and then just let them move into a position with like 1 or 2 clicks. Make it simple. Don't kick them into an external UI in a different browser, but kind of have a seamless experience. And that's really the way that we see the world going, and that's what we want to help people build through the tools that we've built ourselves.
Amazing. And do you provide any sort of like monitoring or alerts for users when their yield either changes or maybe something becomes risky?
Yep. So we do that today on vaults. We show notifications when things have become risky. So if we detect that something's happened to underlying collateral in one of these lending markets, that a stablecoin has depegged, anything like that, we will show an alert in our app and kind of steer users to do their research before they interact with it. And also, if you have a position there, let you know that they should take a look as well. When we talk about like working with wallets, that's I'm here in Denver this week, and I've had some great convos with. I think ultimately we rely on other security solutions for like generating those first notifications, those alert notifications for changes with smart contracts. And I think kind of with our partners, we can create experiences that help users kind of avoid those situations or get out of them as soon as possible.
You mentioned earlier that you guys have an API. Would you mind talking about that in more detail, and if there's any developers that might want to use it, what its functionality is?
Yeah, 100%. So through our API, a couple things that you can do with that. You can get market data on any vaults that you're interested in. You can get a list of vaults that are on the chains or within the protocols that you care about. And when I say get like historical detailed data on each of these opportunities, that means you can get TVL data going back for a couple years. You can get APY data over that time. And one of the things that I haven't mentioned yet that we do a bit unique is we make it easy to see like how much of that yield is coming from base yield. So if you're putting ETH in a vault, like how much of that are you earning in ETH versus what are you getting in rewards tokens or something else that, might be much more volatile. So through our API, you can get all of those details. You can also get, like I said, the transaction preparation. So you can call one of our endpoints to see, like, to interact with this vault, what are the functions that I need to call? And then through another, actually prepare those transaction payloads and call data to interact with these vaults, either on the deposit transaction, the withdrawal transaction, claiming rewards. And like I said, our app kind of is dogfooding all of this. So if you want to get a feel for like what that makes possible, I'd instruct you to go check that out. And then the last thing you can do through our API is get that detailed position data as well. So for a user who has an active position, you can see their list of transactions or interactions with that vault, how much they've earned over time, etc., by passing their address to get a list of like basically what powers our dashboard today, showing like if a user has 20 positions, we can show their current value of each of those positions as well as how much they've earned within each one.
Hey, quick question. I'm checking the app and I see that you've integrated with Coinbase Smart Wallet, which I find amazing. Can you give us a little bit of feedback around like how was the integration? Was it a lot of work for you guys? And what does it enable for users?
Yeah, so I can speak to a couple points on that. We chose to put that easy access for a user to create a Coinbase Smart Wallet in our app because we think that the experience that users can get using smart accounts and account abstraction today makes the DeFi experience so much better. So if you connect with the smart account today and deposit into one of these vaults, you can do it in one click. And already that's like a vastly superior experience to where we were a couple years ago, where you had to explain to someone how an approval works and then let them know after the approval they also need to deposit and prompt them through those steps, through that flow. And in the future, we think that we can do a lot more with that. So crafting a portfolio for a user where maybe they want to construct like 5 positions at once, we can do that all in one click through batch transactions with account abstraction and with 7702 coming soon. So things that we've done on the developer side that other members of my team can probably speak more to are that we've really like focused on integrating the best in class things that we can to make our interactions with wallets good. So that is the batching of transactions. And yes, we've integrated Coinbase Smart Wallet for easy creation. And in the future, I think we're going to be doing more to help users create smart accounts. And Coinbase Smart Wallet's really cool because you can do that simply with a passkey. And, looking across the space, a lot of places are using embedded wallets and other sorts of wallets where You can create accounts with your email, different types of logins. We think that does bring a lot of value to the space. Personally, like we don't want to necessarily give users embedded wallets. We're believers in having those wallets be more portable, especially when they hold a lot of value, like your savings, things that you want to be earning on in DeFi. But I guess in summary, just we're really excited about account abstraction, what smart accounts have brought to the space, and where things are going with 7702 opening that up for a lot more users.
That's super cool. I just connected with my smart wallet. I think I created it in ECC last year to buy a coffee, and like it took me half a second to recover the passkey and everything. So yeah, great job. It's really a great integration. Well done.
Very nice. Happy to hear that. Thank you.
Speaking of users, what would you say are the biggest challenge in getting early users for the app?
Yeah. Well, I think you hit on one before, which is just like what are the risks involved in DeFi and education around what's even going on with each of these vaults that we show to people. We try to address that a bit by just showing, we have this section, if you look at anything in vaults, any specific opportunity, it says, where does the yield come from? Where we kind of try to give that in human readable language. And that's because we know, like, when we have these conversations in person with people that we're bringing into DeFi, that's often one of the first questions. It's just like, how is this thing making 10% or 20% or 5%? Definitely a challenge. One of the things that helps us there a lot is, I think, that our early organic growth and how we got to where we are today, we've had a lot of help from the DeFi ecosystem, like from our protocol partners and kind of OGs in the space. And increasingly, we're seeing like those types of users refer their friends that they're getting into DeFi to come to our app because, we're a little bit more user friendly than oftentimes like sending them to a specific protocol. And just as we talked about, like we give them a way to create a wallet and help through that flow as well. I think, so that's the challenge. It's just like, how do you get people into the space who maybe don't understand it or aren't so comfortable moving around their funds on chain? And I really think a lot of it is just, it is like the human interaction. And so that's like actually being there to answer questions from your friends, your family in person and kind of walking them through the process. And then, we're trying to capture as much of that in what we do as well to make what we're building have a bit of a human touch, to put things in like more human readable terms and trying to move away from kind of the eccentric terms that like as a DeFi experienced user, I'm often thinking in, but normal people aren't as familiar with, like TVL, etc.
I guess to kind of tag on to everything you said there, have there been any learnings from other DeFi protocols that's really shaped how you're approaching growth?
Yeah. Let me think about that for a second. The first one that comes to mind is like, I think Moonwell has done some really cool stuff with what they've built. They've built really nice user experiences. Of course, EtherFi, kind of everything that Mike was highlighting earlier, that they're launching new terms or near term, just kind of making it easy to like open these positions and not having to go through as many of the technical details. That does a lot. With Moonwell, I guess I can use that to shout out like a couple of the technical things that are really helping a lot. Like if I interact with Moonwell and Base, I can actually lend USDC and use the USDC Paymaster to like not even need to have gas in my wallet to interact, or I can have that transaction totally sponsored. That's stuff that's inspired us in what we're building. And also just like nice clean interfaces that people have made that kind of take the best of what we've learned from like Web2 financial experiences and optimizing I like a couple years ago, I was on VFAT all the time, looking for yields and places to farm and like interacting with things that were very, technical looking. But if we want to reach new audiences, like we need to make things a bit more intuitive, easy for users to follow. And I think there are a lot of places that have done a good job with that. And shout out to like Moonwell, to Morpho with their new eye for crafting experiences that kind of use those best practices.
To shift a bit to actually building on Ethereum, what would you say is the hardest technical challenge?
Might ask I'm waiting to see if my co-founders want to ping me with something there, because they're doing more of the technical work than I am. I mean, for us right now, it's like a lot of the technical pieces that we're trying to sort through are like, how do we give users that great experience with creating a wallet, with when we're looking at helping users create wallets and get started in the space. Like, what's the best way to do that and do it in a way so that a user can easily navigate from one chain to another, bridge assets, and even like swap assets if you hold, DAI on one chain and you want to lend USDS on another. Like, how can we make that seamless for people? So on the technical side, we're spending more time on like chain interop and chain abstraction. There's a lot of cool stuff happening in that space, and more broadly with account abstraction and like smart account modules that we're going to use. But there's almost like so much happening in the technical space that's hard to keep up with and learn kind of what's best to bring into our product.
I guess to shift back then, no worries, since I understand you're not one of the more technical co-founders of the team. What kind of support or infrastructure do you wish existed for early stage DeFi founders?
Well, I mean, just going back to the last one too, I think on the, more support on just making it easier to like pick what chain to launch on, and help users navigate, if you're launching an L2 where you want to take advantage of like lower gas fees and some better user experiences. I think that's probably a tough decision for people launching protocols today. And as I mentioned before, for us to like help users navigate, interacting on different chains, bridging assets, paying for gas, etc. There's a ton of work going on in that space, and it's all like it's messy to sort through now. I think the user experience is going to be so much better in the next few months, and a year or two down the line, things are going to be like so smooth and seamless that things that we're doing this year and last year just like feel archaic. But yeah, from my perspective, like things that's a place where we'd love more technical support to come up with solutions and connect us to the best solutions for those things.
Gotcha. And what would you say has been your most effective strategy to kind of attract users so far? Has it been like content, partnerships, word of mouth, something else?
Yeah, it's been content and word of mouth, really. So the way that we've gotten to where we are now is just kind of capturing more of DeFi and making it easy for users to find like where are yields in different protocols. And as I mentioned before, that space is shifting a lot. So just in the past year, like some new leaders in lending space have emerged, like Morpho, like Euler, and being able to be one of the places that users go to see what's going on in those protocols, especially if they don't know about them already. They can kind of discover those opportunities through our page and learn more. That's been a way for us to kind of get the support from different protocols in the space and to engage with users who are like looking to find more. So we've published a lot of content on that and just kind of breaking down the space. We put a lot on X on Twitter to show kind of what's currently happening in DeFi. Hopefully that's engaged some users who, maybe had stopped interacting on chain when gas fees were high. They kind of stopped paying attention for DeFi for the past couple of years. And I think we've maybe reactivated some users just through our content. And then, as I mentioned, word of mouth, just we know from like people we talk to in the space that oftentimes, maybe the founder of a team is like into DeFi themselves, and they're trying to kind of tell more people around their teams like how to check out DeFi, how to get involved. And what's really exciting to us is a lot of times the first place they point their friends or teammates to learn more is to go to vaults.fyi.
What would you say success looks like for Vault in the next 12 months? And what can we be excited for as users? Are there any big features you're excited to roll out?
Yep. So two big things. One is just more people building on our API and crafting great DeFi experiences using, the underlying tools that we've built. So we're more success would look like more wallets creating great DeFi earn experiences using our API, creating a network of people and great products powered by our API. And then the other is just making our app a greater experience, especially for the newer crypto users. So, I'm going to say something that's a bit US centric. If those listening are familiar with Wealthfront, I think Wealthfront's done a really great job of giving users, giving people who may not know a whole lot about traditional finance, an easy way to come in and learn how to earn yield and how to grow their wealth. And you can come into that product and just answer a few simple questions about yourself and what's your risk tolerance, what are you looking to do, what are your long-term goals, and they'll help you kind of figure out where to put your money. I think that we can create similar experiences in DeFi that just make it much less intimidating, much easier for new users to navigate, and also doing that in a way that isn't just having them ape into the riskiest vaults out there. Really setting people up for success. So success for us looks like helping builders build on top of our API, and also just creating great user experiences that make DeFi a little bit easier to navigate.
What advice would you give to other founders looking to build on Ethereum today?
Kind of reiterating some things I've done before, I've said earlier, are just try to make your product clean and not so technical, solve someone's problem and convey that to them. That's really what we're trying to do. We think of this space, there's a lot of great things that DeFi has to offer. They can give people some great opportunities to grow their wealth. And, one of the jobs to be done there is just to help them see that value and to explain that in clear language to them. So, I would advise DeFi founders to create those types of experiences that, solve a problem for users and try to remove the obstacles and some of the friction in getting them all the way through your flow.
Any final messages for the world?
I think, last thing is just a call to go onboard your friends and, DeFi founders, people in this space, go try to talk to people about this stuff, show them how it works, try to help someone go through it and listen to their concerns, listen to their problems. I think to keep improving, for us to improve our product, for other people to improve their products, we need to listen to what people are saying and build according to that. So challenge everyone and, to myself to just go onboard people.
Amazing. That is an inspiring message to end on. I want to give a quick shout out to Nico. Thank you for taking time out of ETH Denver to join us here. Those are some great questions that you asked. And a huge shout out to Mike and the EtherFi team and Tyler and the Vaults.FYI team. This was another amazing discussion. I personally learned a lot and I'm inspired by what you guys are building. If you're listening and you're building an Ethereum app and you want to be featured on this space, I will tweet out the link again to the Google form where you can apply. And please message me if you're building and you want to be in touch. That's at jchaskin22 on Twitter. I want to hear from you. Thank you everybody in the Ethereum community for listening in. Ethereum is nothing without its builders and without its users and without its community. And this was another amazing call. And I hope you all have a great rest of your day. See you soon.
Thank you.